Our next guest, KIRK Shaw of Wonderfilm Media, has produced over 230 movies. This incredible tally makes KIRK North America's second most prolific producer in history. To him, it's all about finding innovative ways to solve financing problems. He's here today to talk about the industry and how it's being forced to change, and how he and Wonderfilm lead that transformation. Welcome to the show, KIRK.
Hey, welcome to be here.
I hate to ask who's number one if you're number two.
Roger Corman.
Wow, wow.
He's 93 years old.
Oh, so, and you're well under that
yeah.
age.
So I've got a long ways to catch up, but yes.
So what a story. 230 films. You're a Canadian.
Yes.
Tell us how did this all come about?
I think it was by accident. I wanted to be a writer, and I got interested in producing audio tours in museums and art galleries. And I produced them like old radio plays, because I used to go to listen to radio plays when I went to sleep young. I just went to a museum, let's say Royal BC Museum. It would have 1 million visitors a year. But when you go to the Royal BC Museum, you haven't really studied BC history.
When you say BC, we're talking about British Columbia.
Yeah. So I'm just using that as an example. So I thought I could create an audio tour of the museum. And at the time, we were doing them with Sony Walkmans, if you remember what a Sony Walkman is.
Absolutely.
So
had a yellow one.
Yeah. So we had to figure out how to charge the batteries, how to rewind them. And I actually went to the museum and said, I'll provide the staff to rent, and I'll produce the audio tour for free. I'll provide the staff at the museum to rent them, and we'll just revenue share. And if you have 1 million people visiting the museum, and I can get 10% or 100,000 to pay $3, then I thought we had a business.
Wow, what year was that?
That would have been in the year 2000.
Wow.
And so I did 19 of those type of tours. Also the Royal Tyrrell Museum in Alberta. We did something for the Smithsonian Museum. And it was like a really fun time.
So you'd put the cassette in, walk around the museum with your Walkman, and it's a guided tour.
Yeah, it was like a walking meditation, because there was, we'd have a story arc, we'd have actors, we had original music, sound effects.
Oh, wow.
So you were actually taken into the world of what the environment is in the museum you're walking into.
So what were you doing before that? Like, so nothing to do with the film or industry?
No, I initially wanted to be a writer. I pursued writing and have a diploma in journalism, but I ended up always in the business side of the newspaper industry. And I was one of the group that started the Edmonton Sun newspaper in Edmonton. I was like employee number 4. I always remember getting my paycheck and being proud to be employee number 4.
That's amazing, because we crossed paths there, because I had the Examiner newspapers in Edmonton in those days. That's a funny, we'll probably cut that out because it's kind of irrelevant to our viewer.
Yes.
But wow. So you were basically a journalist who got into the business side. Yeah. And then you created which is, like you said, it's like a radio play, really. Yeah,
it was an old radio play. There used to be, we used to have Jack Cullen and the Owl Prowl on CKNW. And it was 11:15 every night, and that's what I would go to sleep listening to. The Shadow.
Very cool. So you're a Vancouver boy. So you start producing, and I take it that was very successful.
Yeah, it was. And then one day the Vancouver Museum called me, and they said, does Insight do video? And I was on the phone, and I thought for a second, and I just said, yes. It was just, yes.
Yeah.
And I'll come in
like any good entrepreneur. Yeah. Right? And so do you guys do that? Yeah, I think, we do actually.
Yeah, I could see you doing that for sure. So I said I'd come in the next week, and I went trying to find, I was already writing scripts, working with actors, doing
all
music.
For audio only.
All for audio only. So I just thought it wasn't that much more difficult to add video.
And we're talking, so we're sitting here today in 2018.
Yes.
And you're saying this all started only like 2000, like you've done all these movies, and that's all been since 2000.
Yeah.
Wow. So tell us about the first movie.
The first movie is quite funny because it took me, when I said yes to the Maritime Museum, then I started to do documentaries and a show called Driver's Seat, magazine shows, and I'd walk around Vancouver and you'd see all these big trucks, and I just wondered how to get in there. And then,
And when you're talking about the movie industry,
Yeah, the
already
movie
was it
industry.
already was Hollywood North by then,
yeah,
right?
it was already Hollywood North, but I'm still walking around the streets thinking it can't be that hard to figure out how to make a movie. And I was doing documentary and magazine shows. And then a friend of mine in Los Angeles asked me to invest with him to buy the assets of a computer game company that was a video computer game company that went under.
Okay.
And so I got a few friends with him, and we bought these assets. And so my first movie was taking one of those games, which was called Maximum Surge, and using half of the footage that they already shot
For the video game.
for the video game, and we wrote a script and backed into the footage. And then we only had to shoot half a movie.
Wow.
And we also shot it on Betacam,
Yeah.
which was, no one was shooting movies at Betacam at the time, just for cost effectiveness, and that was my first movie.
And
And
what happened?
well, I took that to a broadcaster and said, here's my movie. And he said, well, it doesn't fit anything we're programming, but we want disaster movies. So come back to me with some disaster ideas. So we came back to him with a wildfire movie called Wildfire 7. And we also came back to him with a Killer Bee movie. And so
Really?
movies 2 and 3 were Wildfire 7 and Killer Bees.
And off you went.
And off we went.
And that was Insight Entertainment or
Insight Films.
Insight
Yeah.
Films based in
Yeah.
Vancouver.
Yeah.
And so how did it go from there to 200 and some movies?
What I realized as a Canadian producer at the time, and I would go to Los Angeles to try to sell my company and myself, I had 33% of the budget, which an American producer doesn't have. And
Because of the exchange on the dollar?
No, because of the tax credits.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Plus you had the exchange on the dollar. So I realized I was like the richest person in Los Angeles, the richest film producer in Los Angeles, because no matter what meeting I went into, if I could fit it into the Canadian content system, I had a third of the budget already. And so I just went door to door and picked up 5 films from somebody and picked up a few more and built the company.
Wow.
And the best thing about the Canadian rules at the time is the Canadian producer has to own it. You know, he has to take the lead. And so the contract negotiation was easy. I just took the Canadian government's contract and gave it to the US producer.
We're talking with KIRK Shaw of Wonder Film Media. And KIRK, we're going to get you to stick around and we'll come back with more of KIRK and we're going to find out about what he's doing now.